Hi, I'm Jamie Akiva, founder and director of Historical Fencing Research, which is to my knowledge both the first and only company producing open access safety research for the historical European martial arts community. I first founded the company to run the Safety Tips project, which published results earlier this year. Safety Tips looked to understand how the practice of tipping or not tipping your sword affected key safety risks, including the risk of being injured into your mask and the injury of being punctured by a sword. We had to construct brand new testing equipment, design test protocols, and run experiments that nobody had ever done before for the weapons in question. And it was a lot of effort and time and cost to do so. But we got meaningful results, finding that sufficiently large tips can significantly reduce the risk of puncture, and that rubber tips, in particular, are more likely to push on a mask. This is only the start of our potential research, but we found that the way we ran Safety Tips is simply not sustainable. We put more than 200 hours of unpaid labor into making sure Safety Tips happened, and we're still producing some reports that put the Safety Tips results into context and help describe what they do and do not show. This simply isn't possible to do by squeezing in between the hours of our day jobs, our lives, and our hobbies, and we need a step change. This Patreon is part of making that step change. The goal is to reach enough funding that I can reduce my working hours so that I spend one day a week purely on safety research and nothing else. And that will allow us to advance the level of safety research we're doing, expand the Safety Tips results, and look into new angles of safety risks that the HEMA community desperately needs to explore. The first funding goal we want to reach is 20 paid members. Once we reach that, we'll be doing a deep dive of a recent incident where a fencer got stabbed in the bicep at a tournament in Poland. We'll be doing an independent review of that incident with interviews with everybody involved, as well as video review to understand all the factors at play that led to this fairly serious incident that recently happened. Further funding would accelerate other projects that we planned, including, in the first instance, Safety Tips Phase 2. Safety Tips Phase 1 looked at existing tipping practice and used tips that were in use. Phase 2 looked to isolate properties of swords and tips so that we can understand specific risks tied to just one change in variable, such as the material, size, or shape of a tip, the flexibility or weight of a sword, and whether the Safety Tips results for which tips to use correspond to other weapons as well. Beyond Safety Tips Phase 2, we have a raft of questions and projects that we have planned and simply lack the time to do. Many of these require us to develop new equipment or adapt our existing equipment, but these experiments will allow us to drill into other safety questions, such as the impact protection of different equipment, including strikes to torsos, strikes to masks, as well as the risk of puncturing equipment and other things that we haven't tested for in prior phases. The list we have is just a start. As well as experiments, we're proposing to try and develop standards and methods of reporting that will allow HEMA practitioners and organizers to share data that they have on injuries, on swords, and how they relate on a voluntary basis, but then enable better research on these issues in future for other researchers as well. Additionally, we'll be producing advice and guidance about all of our results for organizers so that they can understand how they would need to adapt their practices in order to increase safety outcomes within their own space. All of this proposed work is just the beginning. There are so many unanswered questions for safety within HEMA, and HEMA has become too big to keep ignoring them. I hope that you agree with me that these questions desperately need to be answered, and that you help me by supporting this Patreon or by sharing it with your friends, with your colleagues, with the organizers in your local space, as well as the other research that we've already conducted to help spread the word and help all of us keep fencing safely.